Well, I was thinking about something this morning. Now, when I was a kid, the school that we went to, the elementary school, was, it was to the 8th grade. It was a small local thing that it had like 2 classrooms actually. But it only went to the 8th grade. So after that, you had to go to a different school. But that small school was kind of nice. Most of the people there, at least half of them, were relatives. And there, like I had, well, by the time I got there, I think it was 3 in my class. And one of them was a cousin. But, well, like the woman who cooked the lunches was an aunt. It was small. But it was actually a very good school. We learned a lot there. That's kind of funny because my ma actually had taught at that school. A lot of the local wives around there at one time had come into the area to teach school in that school. They actually had a heck of a time keeping teachers because they get married off right away. Well, anyway, after I graduated, from the 8th grade, which was the last class out of there, then the school closed down. And they all had to go to a bigger school in one of the neighboring towns. And for a long time, the other towns had been trying to get the students, because our school district was actually pretty wealthy. The tax base was pretty good. And so the other schools were eyeballing this thinking, they wanted in on this. So after that happened, after the school closed, I ended up going to a bigger neighboring town. And I tell you, that was a horrible shock for me. I didn't care for that at all. You're going from a place where you know everybody to a place where I only knew a few and I didn't care for them. Anyway, so the first day of school, we had to ride on a bus, which was, again, another new experience. But the first class that I had was an English class. And I later learned to kind of hate this teacher, but so the first thing she had us do was write a paper. And I'm sure the idea was to get an idea of, what we could do, how well we knew the language, I guess. So we had to write a paper on what we did over our summer vacation. Well, we really didn't. On a farm, you don't really have a vacation, so to speak. And I'd have been, maybe 14 years old. I'd been a freshman in high school at that time. Well, so I thought nothing of it, and I wrote this paper. And when I'd come into the room, of course, I migrated right to the back corner of the room because this was all new to me, and I wanted to be in a position where I could kind of survey this. Well, when it come time to hand all these papers in, of course, me being way in the back corner, every other kid would put his paper underneath mine, so it ended up at the front of the classroom, and the teacher grabbed him. Mine was the paper, and she read it. And what I had written, what I had done over that summer, was built this shack out along the river. We lived along a river, and it kind of made a weird loop. And there ended up to be a piece of land along the railroad that was inaccessible. It was a nice little plot of land, but you couldn't get there anyway. It was used for pasture sometimes because there was a little cow trail right on the side of the riverbank that you could get over there with a horse or on foot. Or cattle could walk over there, but you couldn't get in there with a vehicle for anything. When this was kind of, because of the odd loop, it was a kind of a odd, nobody was really sure actually who the land belonged to. It might have been one of their neighbors, or part of it. Part of it might have been church land, and part of it was railroad land. But, like I say, nobody could do anything with it, so the guy that used to live at the place that we moved to, he used to pasture it, just run cattle in there. Well, this is kind of a cool little area, so I took the horse and went over there, and I found along the railroad, they had dumped a bunch of these, what were called grain doors, and the old box cars, and they had a piece of wood that was like double thickness, nailed together with screw nails. Must have been about that wide and about 8 feet long. And there was a whole pile of them laying around the railroad track. The railroad had just dumped, and a bunch of other wood and just scrap that they dumped along the railroad track. So I went and took the horse and drug a bunch of them back there into this odd little corner and started building a shack. And that's what I did all summer. I might mess around with that. In any spare time, I'd go back over there and build. And, so that's what I wrote in this paper about my old excursion back there in the building. Well, when she read this out in class, most of the kids, they'd spent the summer at the lakes, or they'd been on shopping excursions to Minneapolis, or, that sort of thing. And what I was talking about was completely beyond them, and they found it the most hilarious thing in the world. So, a lot of times when I'm building on a project now, I don't actually show or talk about too much of what I'm building. I'll talk about method, and I'll show methods, but I'm not going to get into particulars. It always brings me back to that little instance of that paper. And honestly, my theory is you guys aren't going to learn a lot from what I build. You can learn something from the methods. I think that's more important. So I show bits and pieces, but I'm not going to get too into it because, like I say, what I do over my summer, it was completely beyond those people's comprehension, and I'm not going to get into that again. So some things you just keep to yourself. But like I say, I'm willing to share methods and theories, but as to specific things, I'll shy away from them. Really disliked that school. It was all city kids. Had nothing in common with them. I mean, they were into basketball, and we had one time when I was a kid, I think an aunt gave us a basketball and a hoop for Christmas, and we put it up in the barn and promptly hit a nail with the ball, and that was the end of that. So there was no basketball. That was not something we were into. And a lot of these, that particular school was really into the sports angle. And I had really no interest in that. So my time there was not pleasant. But I went 2 years there, and then we ended up switching to another school on the other side of the school district that was also after that district money. And that was a little better. It was people I knew that I'd grown up with. That was a better school. But even there, to this day, they're still very much into the sports and stuff. The only thing, they had a nice industrial arts class, a shop class. That I liked. But I'm sure to this day, there's a lot of the people that I went to school with never even knew my name. I know there was one that I was on my But I'd have been my senior year. Somebody came up to me and actually asked me what my name was. He said, "I don't want to be personal. What's your name?" I had no idea what my name, after. But that's, bigger school was that way. But like I say, that's the reason when I don't go into details on stuff and keep stuff to myself. Just more comfortable with that. Anyway, it would be interesting to see that paper now, that I handed in, what I did over my summer vacation. And I should actually go back there and see if remnants of that shack are still there. But I think the railroad might have burnt it down eventually. I think they thought bums had moved in there, but I had made a stove. It was maybe 10 by 12 maybe. Just tacked together. But, it was... And there again, the only nails I had were the old square nails that we dug out of a bucket of rusty nails laying in one of the barns. But they work. That's where I actually learned to prefer them, because you aren't as prone to splitting wood out. But those grain doors, they were made out of, like an elm with screw nails. You couldn't take them apart, but they were a nice big panel, so you could make stuff out of them that way. But that was my summer vacation when I was 14.